Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode on the moon phases. I'm Lori Barnes, your astrology coach, and I'm here to talk to you about the upcoming Cancer full moon. We have the full moon this Friday, and I'm going to give you the time so that you know when the full moon is actually culminating and when it's at its fullest, when it peaks and it's as bright as it can possibly be. So it'll be this Friday, January the 6th. And if you're in the United States on the West Coast, it'll be at 3:08 p.m. And if you're on the East Coast, it will be at 6:08 p.m. And if you're in Rome, Italy, it'll be at 11:52 p.m. this Friday. I'm not in my usual place, as you may notice with my background here. I'm actually recording to you in the United States in central Illinois. The full moon will be in Cancer at 16 degrees, and the sun will be in Capricorn at 16 degrees. So a full moon is the middle of a moon phase. The new moon was in Capricorn, and I'll tell you when the phase started on Friday, December 23rd. So the full moon is always the middle of a moon cycle, and this full moon is in the elements of water with Cancer and Earth with Capricorn. And the full moon always means that the sun and the moon are in opposite signs. So there's 6 pairs of signs in the zodiac, and when it's a full moon, there's a particular pair of signs that the sun and moon are traveling through. The moon is in Cancer, and that's why it's a Cancer full moon. Once a year, the moon has a full moon in the sign of Cancer, and it is the home sign for the moon. So this is a really wonderful position for the moon to be in. And the other things going on in the sky are pretty harmonious. So I think that this full moon is going to be a harmonious full moon. I am theming it as harmony and exhaustion, because we also have the retrogrades of Mars and Mercury happening at the same time. Now, Mars has been retrograde since October, the end of October, October 30th, and Mercury just went retrograde at the end of December, December 29th. That's why I'm saying harmony and exhaustion, because with Mars retrograde, there may be more fatigue and just kind of less energy to go out and do what you want to do. We've been working with this energy for more than 2 months now. And if you have any planets in the sign of Gemini, you could really be feeling that fatigue and exhaustion. Retrogrades are about reflecting, reviewing, realigning. There is this energetic vibe at the full moon to look back, reflect, and realign. Now, Mars is heading towards the end of its retrograde cycle. It's going to end on January the 12th. Mercury retrogrades for around 3 weeks, and Mercury will end its retrograde cycle on January 18th. That means that we have time to work with both retrogrades at the same time right now. And we're just coming out of the holidays. So harmony and exhaustion, because we are coming out of a holiday season where, even though many of us had time off, we had other obligations, whether it's family obligations or traveling or kids out of school. There are many things that happen during the holiday season that aren't normal. They're outside of our routine, that even though we have time off, we end up being more busy. With the retrograde, we can be coming out of this holiday season feeling more fatigued and tired than usual. And then we roll right into this full moon after the new year, which is quite harmonious with what's going on in the sky. Considering the retrogrades, there's this harmony and there's this exhaustion or fatigue that's happening at the same time. And I love how there's this harmonious vibe between the different planets as we move out of the holiday season. It's kind of like the universe is saying, okay, take a break. I'm going to give you some peace and harmony. You may be very tired, but let's kind of calm down, take some space, do some relaxing things. Most of all, take care of yourself. Cancer is a nurturing sign. It is the receptive side of nature. Cancer, water, the water element. This is a time to really pamper yourself and nurture yourself. The full moon culminates on Friday, so you have the whole weekend, hopefully, to focus on yourself, focus on taking care of yourself, making healthy food, doing some meal planning for eating well and taking care of your body. The moon represents a few different things in your chart, your emotions, how you find emotional security, and it also represents your body, your physical body. It's one of a few different places in the chart that can represent your physical body. During this full moon, I highly recommend that you take some time to focus on how you are taking care of your body. What are you putting into your body? How do you take care of the outside of your body? Are you getting enough sleep? And if you haven't been, if you've really been running around over the holidays and just maybe having all kinds of fun, but not a whole lot of relaxation, this is a good weekend to just take a break, to pause, to reflect, to realign, to work with the retrogrades, or to do nothing, really. Sit in a hot bath, take a walk by some water. Anything that has to do with water would be great because Cancer is a water sign. It is the moon sign, and it's the full moon that happens once a year in the sign of Cancer. Full moons, generally speaking, are full of energy, right? It's the most amount of light that we can see in the moon on a clear night. With the retrogrades, I would work with this energy and start wrapping up what you may have already been doing during the retrogrades, because Mars has been retrograde for a few months now. Mercury's only been retrograde for about a week. And now that they're both retrograde at the same time, this would be a good weekend to do some of the retrograde cycle work that you may want to do. If you haven't done anything yet, it's a great weekend to do some of that reflecting, reevaluating, reviewing, where are things out of sync. When you start looking forward to 2023, or we're in 2023, but at the very beginning of the year, if you've already written goals, this could be a great time to relook at them, and with the eye of realism, of how realistic is this. The sun is in Capricorn, so we have this Capricorn Cancer energy, and Capricorn is very much about being diligent, determined, motivated, and also to go at achieving what you want with structure, with discipline, with hard work, with a lot of effort. With the retrogrades, I would say that going forth with a whole lot of energy and like, yeah, I'm going to go start working on my goals right now. I'm going to do this, this, and this. This weekend may not be the weekend to go do that. I would say to do that after the new moon, which is going to come later this month on, I'll give you the date, Saturday, January 21st. So under the new moon phase would be a great time to just kind of kick off the goals that you have for 2023. Right now, under the full moon in this weekend, I would say work with the retrograde energy. And now you can work with Mars and Mercury retrograde energy together. So you may have been working on the Mars retrograde cycle for the last couple of months, going through your daily routine, looking at all the different things that you're putting your energy towards, how you're physically going out and doing things, but also your inner motivation and your inner drives, and trying to tease out what is taking up my time, but doesn't seem to be taking me towards my overall goal or vision for my life. Or maybe it doesn't feel like it has meaning and purpose for you. Like it's a lot of work and effort and energy, but it's not really bringing into your life a flow, or it's not really bringing into your life a return on the investment of the energy that you're putting into it. Or it's just taking you into a direction that's not really where you want to end up down the road. Because when you put energy into something, you're propelling yourself more into that energy. And if you know that you're doing something, spending a lot of time on something, and it's not really what you want to do, during Mars retrograde is a time to start recognizing, well, where can I cut some things out of my schedule, out of where I'm exerting my energy, cut some of those things out so that I can open space to start doing things that do take me in the direction that I want to go. Now we have Mercury coming along and is retrograde at the same time, and it's reinforcing this concept of reflecting back, looking backwards to move forwards. This is all happening as the new year started, and now we're culminating with this full moon. And it's in Cancer. It's looking internally. Both Cancer and Capricorn are receptive signs. This is a time period during the full moon to shine the light, right? The full moon, it's full light. You can go outside and see. You have the moon shadows. So taking this weekend during the full moon to really evaluate what you want to leave behind in 2022 so that you can move forward in 2023. So this time period until the next new moon on the 21st is kind of wrapping up that work, wrapping up the Mars retrograde work, and really you're just getting into the Mercury retrograde work. And I think that they together can really help you find some answers, shine the light on some things that may have been hidden in the dark that you need to see to finalize those changes, finalizing your goals, finalizing what you want to accomplish this year, but with a reflective viewpoint, not just looking forward, but looking backwards to look forward. And I think that this might be the first weekend after the holidays when we might all have some open space to actually focus on ourselves instead of holiday events, family events, get-togethers, traveling. Like I'm traveling, I'm not home yet, but hopefully many of you are finding yourselves home and kind of just getting back into your normal routine, and then take this weekend rather than just kind of going at it and jumping into your goals or just trying to get back to normal, but actually just take a breath, take a pause, and take advantage of the end of the Mars retrograde cycle with the Mercury retrograde cycle to wrap up 2022 and leave in the past what needs to be let go of, and make a plan for how you want to continue that process as you move into 2023. Both of these planets will be direct by the time we get to the new moon. So it really will be this fresh start when we get to the new moon to really kick off and move forward. We will still be in the post-retrograde shadow. After these planets go direct, there's a period of time where they're moving forward, but they're picking up speed and they're covering old ground. This is ground that they've covered before when they went past it for the first time, then they go retrograde back over it a second time. And then the third time in this post-retrograde shadow period is the last period where they're covering this old ground. So you have this opportunity at the beginning of a new year when you're probably already looking to establish what you want to do in 2023 to also figure out what to let go of, what needs to be changed, realigned. And you do this through reflection, through looking back and learning from the past. It's not about giving yourself a hard time about what you did or didn't do. And it's certainly not about identifying failures, but it is a good time to recognize lessons learned. What did I learn from last year? How did I do on my goals last year? Did I achieve what I wanted to achieve last year? And if you didn't hit the mark, there's valuable lessons there. And it can also help you do good, realistic planning for the future. One of the best things that you can do by setting goals is to get really good at setting accurate goals. You know, it's wonderful to get into manifestation mode, to say, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. However, you want to be sure that you are setting yourself up for success by being realistic about how long is it going to take for you to do this? Do you have the resources that you need to do this? How are you going to get the resources? Do you have the skills? Do you have the contacts, the networks, the people? All of these things are important to help achieve what we want to achieve. And if we're not realistic about how we're going to do that, then we can get really off on just how we go about achieving our goals. And that's not helpful. Accurate goals are far more helpful than goals that are really not achievable, right? So I think that the retrogrades can really help sort out what is really possible and what is not, so that you can get to where you want to go. If what you have designed that you want to accomplish, you realize is unlikely, then you set something that's more realistic and then you go at it. So use this retrograde period along with this full moon to help set yourself up for success in 2023. Let's talk about some of the other things that are going on at the full moon. So we know it's a full moon in Cancer with the sun in Capricorn, and there is Mercury hanging out right there with the sun, very close in degree. And because Mercury is retrograde, it's actually heading towards the sun. So we have this vibration built into the full moon that has a mental quality of definitely looking backwards because Mercury's retrograde, and it's very caught up in the full moon. And the full moon, like I said, it's as bright as it can be. It's when the sun is giving the most amount of light to the moon. And so I think that it's a very reflective full moon, and it's a really great time to just look back and take this weekend and make your schedule very minimal so that you have the time to do that. And Capricorn loves to be structured. It loves to say, I'm going to do this at 5 and that at 7, and, step by step. So, you may have to map out your weekend that way, especially if you're a very busy person. Do try to block off a particular segment of your weekend to do that. And if you can bring water into it, that will be even better. So maybe you do some reflective thinking while you're in a bubble bath, or maybe if you live near a body of water, you go take a walk. I know some people are going to be in some pretty terrible weather, and you may be surrounded by water, not in a good way. It's falling from the sky. And so you may be stuck at home, whether you like it or not. Whatever you can do to make your environment very comfortable, very nurturing. That's Cancer, the Cancer full moon. That would be the ideal environment to really do some of this reflective work and planning for the next year. So Mercury is there. It's going to help with your idea making and also for learning. Mercury is the planet of learning and commerce. So as you're thinking about working with these retrogrades, and we have this full moon, which is about a culmination and is full of energy, and it's more inner directed because these are receptive signs. Cancer and Capricorn are both of the polarity that's called feminine, but not in the, not to say, man, woman, but more feminine as in the archetypal meaning of that. So all men have this feminine side, this receptive side, and, whatever gender identity you have, this is really about the archetypal type of vibration. And so it's a very inner reflective type of full moon in that sense. We also have Venus and Mars in a very pleasant configuration. They're in what we call a trine, and that's because they're 120 degrees apart and they're both in air signs. So Mars is moving towards Venus, and so there's a good relationship there that's supportive of how you are working with the Mars retrograde, and then bringing in how that works with your relating style with others, how you socialize with others, how you interact with others, and how you relate in general with other people. That's very nice. And then the other thing that's happening is that Uranus is configured with the full moon, and it's configured with both the moon and the sun. And it's also a harmonious type of relationship. And that can add some innovative ways of approaching your reflection and your evaluation and your realignment. You may have some really cool ideas that kind of come out of the blue. There also can be a little bit of sudden, unexpected something. It depends on where it falls in your chart, but it should tend to be more smooth and easygoing, even if you maybe had a very busy weekend and all of a sudden your plans get canceled and it works out for the best for you, because the configuration with Uranus and the sun Mercury together and Uranus with the moon is a very pleasant and flowing type of connection. Uranus is kind of like electricity. It's just like, just kind of sudden, surprising, not bad and not good. It could bring something that's more disruptive than you expected. It could also bring some illuminating ideas, some unexpected flash of brilliance. Just the very nature of Uranus is something unexpected. So it's hard to say how it could show up, but it does get configured into this full moon. And I think that's really nice. And I am calling it a harmonious but exhausted or exhausting kind of full moon. The exhausting is really coming from the Mars retrograde and just knowing the time of year that we're coming out of this holiday season. But generally speaking, I think this is a very harmonious full moon. And I do hope that you can take some time out to pamper yourself and nurture yourself and try to enjoy the more calm nature of this full moon than some of the moon configurations that we've seen in the last 6 months. I have a couple of inspirational quotes for you for the full moon. The first one is from Coco Chanel, and she says, "Don't spend time beating on a wall hoping to transform it into a door." I love this, and I love it especially for the Mars retrograde, which is about figuring out ways to go about taking action in the world and looking back and figuring out what's not working so you can make a change. So I like that as a quote for you for this particular time period. The next one is from Francine J. And she says, "My goal is no longer to get more done, but rather to have less to do." And I really do hope that for you. I love the retrogrades for reflecting back and figuring out what to realign or to redo or reevaluate, anything with RE in front of it. Remove is another thing. And oftentimes we find ourselves just so busy and trying to do more and more and more and better, better, better. But sometimes really that whole cliche, less is more, could be something valuable for you to think about as you are looking towards 2023, but with the reflection back to 2022 because of these retrogrades. The last one is from Joyce Rochelle, and she says, "Sometimes exhaustion is not a result of too much time spent on something, but of knowing that in its place, no time is spent on something else." And that reinforces what we've been talking about with Mars retrograde in today's video and in the past videos. And I even did a video just on Mars retrograde if you want to learn more about just the Mars retrograde. So really, when you think about this, when you're reflecting back, it's not just about what you are exhausted from, from what you're doing, but what you aren't able to do because of where your energy is going. So this is the last stretch of Mars retrograde. And in a few weeks, the Mercury retrograde will finish. And I think this is just a perfect time to just start wrapping up the retrograde work so that when the planets are moving forward and eventually in February, as we start to move out of the shadow, you're really prepped and ready to go to really move forward and just fast forward for a little while as we get into February. For the full moon ritual, I have some ideas for you. Because it's a water sign or a water element for the full moon, I always recommend bringing the element into your rituals if you choose to do a ritual. I do have a resource that I've written, and it has a ritual for each of the 4 elements, and you can find that for free on my website at lauriebarnesastrology.com. And I would say that do anything with water, which I've already mentioned, take a bubble bath and bring anything in that nurtures you. If you like essential oils, if you like to burn candles, if you like soft music, maybe you want to have some chocolate, maybe you want to have a glass of wine, whatever works for you. Do something around water. If you don't have a tub, you can go get a massage, you can go to the spa, you can go to the ocean, the sea, the lakes, the ponds, whatever is close to you. I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again because I really think it would be one of the best things you can do for yourself is just to take some time this weekend where you only focus on you. Cancer is a very nurturing sign. It's a mothering sign. And if you're someone who spends a lot of time focused on taking care of others, take this weekend and spend some time taking care of yourself. Pamper yourself, nurture yourself. You may or may not be able to spend the whole weekend doing that, but at least carve out a little bit of time where you're just focused on yourself. The sign of Cancer is about nurturing and taking care of yourself. So do some meal planning for healthy meals, cook a healthy meal, eat something healthy, eat a very nutritious meal. And if you don't feel like cooking, order out. Really pamper yourself. Go pick up something that somebody else has made for you. I would just make sure that it's something healthy, something nutritious, has some vegetables in there, whatever is healthy for your body and for the type of food that you can eat that makes you feel good on the inside, some comfort food. And not all comfort food is healthy. So if you want some comfort food that's maybe not so healthy, just embellish that with something that is, like a nice warm bowl of chicken noodle soup or something like that. Lastly, There is a significant amount of Capricorn energy because the full moon, of course, the sun has to be in Capricorn for a Cancer full moon. And then, as we know, Mercury is right there with the sun. Pluto's also in Capricorn. So you may feel driven. You may feel like, oh, I really want to just go at it and start getting productive and start working. And if you do feel like that, put that energy towards what we've talked about today, the looking backwards to look forwards, doing your goals, analyzing how you did last year. I recommended that at the new moon earlier. So hopefully you've already gotten started on that, but maybe you wanted to do that and just didn't have time because of the holidays. This would be a time to do that, to just evaluate what your goals were last year and do your progress report. How much of your goals did you achieve? What did you do and what didn't you do? And remember to focus on lessons learned and not call them failures or what you didn't do, because that's really not helpful. What's helpful is understanding why something didn't get done and how you can correct that for next year so you can do more accurate and realistic goal setting. Okay, some other things that you can do under the phase, so outside of a ritual that you would do on or around the full moon this weekend, is to extend the concept of pampering. Just hopefully you can do that this weekend, and whether you can or can't, as much of that as you can do in this Cancer full moon phase as we go into the new moon. Just try to do more of that, especially if you are feeling really fatigued, tired, and exhausted from the holiday season, or if you've had to travel a lot. I know a lot of people traveled and then came down with something, whether it was the virus or another virus, whatever it is. You may find that you're stuck at home because you're not feeling well, and then you really do have to pamper yourself. And though the Capricorn energy might be like, no, I have to work, I have to push through it, really this Cancer full moon is saying, no, you take care of yourself, pamper yourself, nurture yourself. Try to cook more healthy meals, more home cooked meals. If you're in the position where you can hire someone to come in and cook for you for a week, that might be a really wonderful way to pamper yourself. Maybe you can't do that for the whole year, but it's something that you can treat yourself to for this particular time period. Maybe you decide you're going to do that once a month or one weekend a month. You can bring someone in making really healthy meals, and sometimes they can make meals that they pack up in packages and you can keep in your freezer, and then you have something to grab out of your freezer. Something like that would be wonderful to do under this phase until we get to the next new moon. If you are socializing a lot this weekend or the couple of weeks as we move through the full moon phase, try to do things that support your immune system. And like if you do happy hour a lot, maybe do something different, like go to a tea shop instead of a bar and have like an herbal tea with your friends instead of happy hour, or invite your friends to your house and you cook something healthy, or go with your friends and you can all take a group walk by the water. So even with your socializing, do something that's more nurturing and more about taking care of your physical body. Some other things you can do. Cancer is very sentimental, and like if you have a lot of photos or clippings that you want to put in a photo album or a scrapbook, that would be a really nice thing to do this weekend. And just giving and caring for others. You might want to collect some things around your house that you don't need and give them to charity. Cancer sign is about the feminine, receptive, archetypal part of our makeup. So again, it's not about your body parts. It's not about the male, female, but it's about the feminine, receptive sign part, of you that everyone has, regardless of how you identify as a person. So anything that can really support your receptive feminine nature would be wonderful. Take care of you, nurture you, start to recognize what that looks like. Maybe you don't even know. So over this weekend, you could spend some time really meditating on, what does nurture for me look like? And it doesn't have to look like the stereotypical concept of what everybody says. Some people may define nurturing self as going out and running 5 miles or hiking up a mountain, or cooking a recipe of your grandmother's, whatever it means to you. Like, think about what that is. And instead of taking the answers from what other people say nurturing is, find out what it is to you on the inside. Like, really think about when you feel comfort, when you feel good, cared for, that the universe is wrapped its arms around you and feeling really nurtured and cared for. What does that look like? And try to do more of that. And lastly, the moon can actually represent your mother or a mother figure. So spend some time with your mom. And if you don't have a mom around, then a mother figure, like somebody who is like mothering to you, somebody who cares for you. It can be a friend, it can be, it doesn't matter their age, it matters with the feeling that they bring to you. We will part with a few essential oils that you could use. We can use them in your bubble bath, you can use them in your diffuser, but they're lovely oils to use for this full moon. The first one is lavender, my favorite oil of all time, which is very calming and it's very peaceful. So I would highly recommend that you use some lavender. You can put a few drops on your pillow, you can put a few drops in your bath, definitely in the diffuser. And I really like lavender mixed with clary sage, which is the other essential oil for the harmony and calming, peaceful vibes that these oils bring up. So clary sage and lavender, I would say use them together. That's what I have in my diffuser. Oops, it's right there behind me next to the stormtrooper. And the other one is orange, wild orange. And that's been on my list for the last few months because that's my choice for Mars retrograde. It's uplifting and it can just kind of help pep you up if you're really feeling that exhaustion and fatigue. I wish you a wonderful full moon in Cancer. I hope it's nurturing for you. I hope you get a chance to calm down and take care of yourself and pamper yourself. I also hope that you take some time and really work with this retrograde energy. I think that it's an opportunity to get to work with these two retrogrades at the same time. And unless you're really out there trying to get a whole bunch done in a short amount of time, it can be very helpful. Now, if you are out there trying to get a whole bunch done in a short amount of time, you may find delays, annoyances, things don't work out, and where miscommunications happen. And in that case, you're going to need more patience. And I would really recommend relooking at your schedule and trying to buffer in some extra time, extra hours, at least until after the 18th when Mercury is direct. But you always want to give it days or even weeks after Mercury goes direct to give it time to get moving forward again and start to get past the degrees that it has already covered. That's the best way to work with the retrograde energy. Okay, happy full moon, and I will see you next time. Bye.